Stephen, we are live here on the YouTube page for NFL Week 1.
Here we
And
go.
going to check out not only the line movement here, we are going to take your questions. If anybody has anything they want to say about Week 1, ask away here in the comment section. Stephen will be monitoring that here on the YouTube page. Fantasy advice even as well. Stephen used to, in a former life, was a big-time fantasy sports advice expert. I've been around the block as well a time or two, so if you have anything from that aspect, if you want to ask about any of these games, let us know. Right off the bat, Stephen, I think whenever the first thing I'm looking at when I see here this morning what's going on, the half point has moved at a couple of different books on the Buffalo-Pittsburgh game. I see sevens now. Now it is juiced to the 6.5. So there seems to be movement here on that game. I see that this Tennessee and Arizona game has been toggling back and forth between 2.5 and 3, where you can see that the Cardinals are taking money every time it hits 3, goes back down to 2.5. Then it takes, so they're playing the ping pong game there on that one as well. We see another fairly decent movement here in favor of Washington as well. There are 2.5s and 2s and 2.5s all across the board here. Now remember, the Chargers started out as 1-point favorites for the majority of the week. Then it flipped and went to Washington as 1-point favorites. And then now we're sitting here and this has moved all the way to 2.5. And that game looks to be the biggest mover here that I'm sitting, that I see this morning.
Yeah. Teaser leg option here now. What do you think? Tease it from 2 up to 8. This wasn't nearly in that zone at the start of the week or the middle of the week, but here we are now. And I didn't think we would get here, but possible best practices teaser potential here for the Chargers if you're not afraid that they're going to get blown out.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Let's just let's start kind of at the top of the board here. Eagles and the Falcons. Again, guys, this is lines.com/odds. You can find all the odds to all the games for the week, so be sure and head over there. Eagles and Falcons sitting right now at 3.5. The majority of places there is a 3 on the Falcons. Stephen, when we look at this one, this was another one of those games that had been on the key number of 3 for a while, then really started to move onto the Falcons at 3.5. Do you agree with this move? Do you think that this is something, whenever this is all said and done, we could see this ping pong for the next 90 minutes until kickoff, or do you think we've probably moved onto this 3.5 for good?
Yeah, I think this is public money coming in on a favorite, and I think a lot of the analysis of this game that I've heard this week has been based on an Eagles offensive line last year and the numbers that they put up in 2020 that was completely ravaged by injuries. This is an offensive line now that is healthy going into the season, and on the other side, a defensive line for the Eagles that was top 5 in pressure rate without blitzing, one of the lowest blitz rates a year ago. So they can get pressure and drop 7. I'm with Brad Allen, who was on our podcast this week. I think that this line is wrong. I am happy to take Eagles plus 3.5 at this point.
Looking at some of these inactives that are starting to come out, pretty big one here. Guy that's super popular in fantasy. So again, we're just kind of give you the updates as we see them. Trey Sermon inactive for the 49ers today. So go ahead, get him out of your lineups. We're looking at Zach Moss as well, inactive for the Bills. Star Lotulelei is the starting defensive tackle for the Bills. He is also out, maybe opening up a couple of running lanes there for the Steelers and Najee Harris. So something to keep an eye on is there. But Trey Sermon inactive kind of came out of nowhere, like you said.
Yeah, Raheem Mostert to the moon now, man. Trey Sermon's out. Raheem Mostert has a pristine matchup against the Detroit Lions today. I'm pulling up our prop finder right now at thelines.com, and I'm seeing Raheem Mostert rushing yard total 1.5 right now, and at BetMGM, our podcast sponsor, minus 111 for that. So not too much juice, where a lot of other books have minus 115. So over 62.5 for him. I'm looking at touchdown here for him as well, seeing where that's at. And you can get minus 110 at FanDuel for Raheem Mostert to score a touchdown in a game where the Niners are now favored by 9 points. Huge positive game script situation for them. Jimmy Garoppolo is not a rushing quarterback, and I know Trey Lance is off the injury report here, so he still might get some snaps, some surprise snaps here, but This is Raheem Mostert's backfield now, at least for week 1.
Yeah, so this is pretty interesting news here. Again, this is all just kind of starting to trickle out here. Zach Moss is kind of a surprise inactive as well for the Bills. Wasn't somebody we were expecting to be out for those guys. On the Colts side of things, Eric Fisher, offensive lineman, trying to come back from that Achilles injury, is out for the Colts today. He is going to be inactive. This was a line that I liked a lot. I'm on the Seattle side here. I got it at 2.5. It's sitting at 3 right now, Steven. Listen, Eric Fisher out on that offensive line. We know that Quentin Nelson dealing with a back injury to go along with his foot injury that he's trying to recover from. Also out for the Colts in that game is Xavier Rhodes, big-bodied corner who, if there was anybody who might be able to challenge DK Metcalf from a physicality standpoint, I'm certainly not saying shut him down at all. What I'm saying is just challenge him at all. It would have been a guy like Xavier Rhodes. He is also inactive. A couple of big inactives there for this Colts team. I like my side even more on this on the Seattle Seahawks team.
Yeah, I hate my side because I took the Colts plus 2.5 in this game the minute that Carson Wentz and Quentin Nelson came back from their injuries, their foot injuries, and that's a lesson I'm going to learn the hard way, I think, because I do like the Seahawks. This bet originally, this line opened up in the summer as Colts 3-point favorites. When Wentz and Nelson had their injuries, it flipped 6 points the other way to Seahawks -3. I locked in a bet at Colts plus 2.5 the minute those two guys were back and healthy because I thought the factors of the reason that line moved were gone now. So why is it still sitting at that line? So I mean, based on principle and best practices with betting, I was getting 5 points of value there potentially. Good about this situation. It's not just Quentin Nelson dealing with that back. It's Xavier Rhodes, their top corner, and now with a new defensive coordinator as well for the Colts. I mean, Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf might be the strongest 1-2 punch at wide receiver in this league. If not, I mean, absolutely. League, and Russell Wilson, obviously everybody knows how good he is, so they're hurting at cornerback now. On top of that, they're having some offensive line situations and continuity that they're going to have to work out, and I just don't think Carson Wentz is very good either. So if I could go back a month and change that bet, I would not have made the Colts bet at this point. I don't feel great about it.
One of the other things that we're looking at here, a guy that was popped up on the injury report, I don't think there was any real question as to whether he was going to go or not, but Austin Eckler is a go for the Chargers. So this
and Matt, real quick here, an out for the Colts. Yeah, so that I'm sorry, I don't know if you mentioned that or not, but he is out, so that's huge.
Oh, did they? Where did that get?
Our colleague, I might have just come. Gibbons just hit us up in the Slack and said Quentin Nelson is. I'm sorry. He just live streams here, Matt. Live streams. Yeah. Brett Gibbons. I misread active. So yeah, my apologies on that. False alarm.
No worries.
Back to Austin Eckler. Week 1 for everybody, Matt. Week 1 for everybody.
Austin Eckler. Yeah, Austin Eckler is a go there for the Chargers. A guy that midweek had at least a little bit of question around whether his status was going to be good to go or not. He is good to go, so be sure. And if you're playing fantasy, he's good to go. And then also just from a handicapping that team, he is a pretty important piece. And listen, there's a difference between running backs and some other running backs in this league as to whether we, really could look at a team differently from a betting perspective. And having Austin Eckler in there with him being a true 3-down back, with him being such an incredibly important part of the pass game as well. And not only that, him being in there, Stephen, against this ferocious defensive line from Washington, I think this game, more than even some other games, Austin Eckler is going to play a big, big role and is super important to the success of this Chargers team. So him being in there, I think, cannot be understated, even though we do try to, we tend to kind of do the whole running backs don't matter thing. But I think in a game like this with against a team like Washington, that certainly matters.
Yeah, I more subscribe to the notion of running backs that can't catch don't matter. All dual threat running back. I think that is valuable in this league today. So combine him with what I think my favorite matchup is in this game for the Chargers offense is Keenan Allen going up against the one weakness I see him defense is in that slot corner. So if they're going to camp Keenan Allen out in the slot here, I think that's a matchup that he's going to be able to take advantage of. He regularly got 10-plus targets with Justin Herbert. So I think those two are going to get pretty heavy workloads today. I think Keenan Allen's going to be heavily targeted. And I think the one thing that I'll say about this Washington team that is interesting is that we are seeing some early steam on them. They were the surprise most popular pick in the Circa Millions contest. I don't know about you, I didn't expect Washington to be the biggest pick side, the most pick side in that Circa Millions contest, dollars per entry.
Yeah, no, I was absolutely floored by that. In a pick'em game, to see 4 times as many picks on one side as the other, that was shocking to me. We are getting a question here: PPR league, DJ Moore or Kenny Galladay?
So not even close for me. To DJ Moore, especially in a full PPR league. I mean, rocket ship emojis against this Jets secondary in this one, and I think Sam Darnold's going to be good to go. Over at WinBet, by the way, Sam Darnold is the third choice in the odds to have the most passing yards this week behind Kyler Murray. That's how much they think his production could be pretty high this week against that Jets secondary. And Kenny Galladay, I mean, he's already hinted that they're going to have trouble this week. I know Evan Ingram is, but he's facing a lot tougher cornerbacks than DJ Moore is. That's a no-brainer for me.
Yeah, no, same here for me. I like Galladay. Funny that the question is about Galladay, because I actually like his player prop this week, Steven. I just think it got it put in way too low. We know that Evan Ingram was out, but I mean, we're talking like it's sitting in the high 30s, right? So I mean, like that, there's a big difference in why I like him from a player prop standpoint, from a betting standpoint, but definitely from what are we going to do from a fantasy standpoint? I think this Jets team is going to be a defense that we attack all year long. And Steven, the other thing from a fantasy standpoint that I think is pretty good, and another thing from a betting standpoint why I think they might be an over team, which you and I are on the over in that game, is because I think the offense is going to be competent. So I don't think that they're going to be able to just sit back, and when I say their opponents are going to be able to just sit back and ride out a lead. I think the Jets will actually move the ball and put some points on the board. And with that, that's only good, one, from a fantasy perspective for a guy like DJ Moore, and then also from a over perspective if we have an over ticket on that team.
100%. And we have another question here. Different PPR league, pick 2, Ayuk, Kupp, and Allen Robinson. Detroit, Cooper Kupp against the Bears, Allen Robinson against the Rams. I think that definitely Kupp, right? I'm going to go Kupp for sure, because I think that target tree is a little shallow with the loss of Gerald Everett and, Cam. I think they're going to lean on Matthew Stafford a little bit more. With Allen Robinson in a tough matchup, he could get shadowed by Jalen Ramsey, but they could also just put him in the slot to free him up a little bit. But I can't bench Allen Robinson for Brandon Ayuk. As good as Ayuk was a year ago, there 49ers offense that led to the targets that he had. And with them being probably in a ton of positive game script today, I mean, this could be a game where Jimmy Garoppolo throws the ball 15 times and they win by 20. So I'm going to stick with Allen Robinson in a tough matchup and go with Cooper Kupp as well.
Yeah, so the reason I like, same here, the reason why I like Allen Robinson, even though it is a tough situation, is I also think there could be a decent amount of garbage time here. And we know that garbage yards are still good yards, right? And so that's also why I like Mooney. Yeah, from a fantasy perspective, for sure. That's also why I like Darnell Mooney's player prop. It is sitting in the low 40s as well out there, guys. And like, here's the thing. You're going to be sweating this until the fourth quarter. Like, it's going to be one of those where you're going, that Matt told me the damn play, the friggin' player prop, whatever. But like, it's like in the fourth quarter, Darnell Mooney. We only need, I think it was 42.5 last night. It might have gone up or whatever, but we only need mid 40s out of Darnell Mooney. And same deal. Like I fourth quarter gets home in the garbage time. So I'm actually fairly bullish on that as well. I like what you're saying, honestly. And at the end of the day, it's still one of the most skilled, one of the better wide receivers that there is in the league in Allen Robinson. It's very, very hard to put him. So yeah, Kupp and Robinson for me. That being said, I do like the upside of Ayuk over the course of the season. I just think this particular game, they could be in control of this one pretty early. And he did deal with a couple of little injuries, a couple of little nicks through the course of training camp. And I could see him maybe even finding the bench, Stephen, later on in the game.
Absolutely. Hey, Matt, two things I want to mention here for the audience that could be them on Sunday mornings. Over at thelines.com, you can check out our new breaking news tool to keep you guys updated on everything that's going on. So if you go to thelines.com and under the NFL tab, you're going to see a drop down angles. So if you click on that, our staff on Sunday mornings are constantly updating all the roster news, all the inactive news, and how that relates to the betting markets. So keep an eye out for that. And also, if you're building DFS lineups, you know, a lot of sites out there will charge you for ownership projections. You're going to have to subscribe to their service to get projections. So if you're setting your DFS lineups and you're trying to figure out who's going to be the lower owned players, our sister site, lineups.com, has a free ownership projections tool. You just go to lineups.com and under the fantasy football tab, you'll see DFS ownership projections, and a fantastic free tool that your place is going to make you pay for.
So Justin's asking about a teaser here, getting the Bills down to a half. So basically just asking the Bills to win the game today and then Niners down to 2.5. I love the Niners as a teaser leg. I have that one already. Now this line's been on the move, and actually right now at DraftKings is all the way up to 9. So there's a 9.5 even floating out there. So there is some serious action coming in on the 49ers for sure. I have that teaser leg, Justin, just so you know. I have the 49ers in a teaser playing off of Sunday. Fortunately for me, that field goal went through for the Bucks, but that thing is open. I also have the 49ers teaser leg tied into the Rams as well. Bills down to a half. Here's the thing. I think the Bills win the game. I think that this game could be a little weird, could be a little wonky. I do think the Bills win. I don't hate that teaser leg. I like it much better on the Rams side of things for a 49ers Rams teaser leg. Listen, this Rams team is not going to lose to this Bears squad, especially first game of the year at home. And the Bears with this incredibly pathetic offensive line. I mean, listen, PFF ranked the Bears offensive line as a 28th best coming into this season. And if you saw any of the preseason, they might have mistyped, and that 2 should be a 3. There might be some college lines out there that are better than this Bears offensive line. They might need to be 38th or something like that as we look. And so I think it could be a long day. Aaron Donald and company on that defensive line going pretty crazy against this Bears offensive line. So, Steven, I don't know. I could get behind a Bears teaser leg with the Niners. I just like the Rams better
right now with that Bills Steelers game, because I feel like that's the one game where within the sports betting community, I've seen a pretty close to 50-50 split here. I know that you and Brad Allen on the podcast really liked the Bills initially there. It was at 7 for a little bit. It's back down to 6.5. But I also know a lot of people that are picking the Steelers, some sharp minds out there that see the Steelers. I don't know if that's just a number play, considering that the Steelers were only 2-point dogs late in the season. Buffalo, and now it's 6.5. But for me, I'll let you chime in and tell me what you think. I think one aspect here that Brad Allen brought up on the pod that I thought was really interesting is that full crowd in Buffalo, tables getting jumped through and pounded and lit on fire in the if they're still allowed to do that, I don't even know. But either way, that stadium is going to be going absolutely insane, and the Steelers are going to be starting 2 rookies on the offensive line. So the number is a little high for me, but I wouldn't tease it. If I'm going to bet it, I just bet the 6.5.
Yeah. I like the Bills in this game. So listen, you're replacing 4 you're starting 4 offensive linemen. You know, for the Steelers team, Bud Dupree is now out of town as well. And as you mentioned, those guys there in Buffalo, they have not had an opportunity to celebrate a really good season last year yet. Remember this, right? I mean, there were no fans in the stands. So as they're having this amazing year, nobody's out there reaping the rewards of it. And so, yeah, I expect the Bills Mafia to be absolutely insane today. I expect it to be crazy. up there. Now, Ben Roethlisberger's 39 years old and has been in the league forever. Is a crowd going to bother him as much as it would just about anybody else? The answer to that is no, right? He's been around the block a lot, Super Bowl winning quarterback. But that said, the big deal is that offensive line, right? We know the continuity. They get really, really loud. Ben tries to change a play. They can't hear the snap count, things that are going on like that. That's where this could really disrupt that Steelers team as well. It's not as easy as just saying, hey guys, go out and play together, right? When we're talking about these offensive lines, it's there's a gelling, a continuity standpoint, getting to know the other guys' tendencies, all the things like that. And that's why I'm like, even in this Chiefs-Browns game a little bit later this afternoon as well, they revamped that offensive line for Kansas City. And don't get me wrong, it is going to be one of the better offensive lines over the course of the NFL season. I just don't know if week one, right out of the gate, you're going to be able to put them out there and they're going to be able to have a ton of success. Because again, it takes just a little while to kind of get things going from an offensive line standpoint. So that's kind of how I feel about both of those situations.
Yeah, real quick, also in this game, Ian Rappaport's reporting that Zach Moss is not only inactive, but he's not injured. He's a healthy scratch. So that's surprising to me. I guess
Must
they
have fallen
really
out of favor with the team or something, huh?
Yeah, I know he was battling something in training camp for a little while, but Rapp's saying that I know Devin Singletary looked really good. They were really high on Matt Breida too, and I know a lot of people were just kind of dismissing that because Matt Breida has been injured like every year for the past 3 years. But I mean, I think Matt Breida really fits with what they want to do in terms of spreading it out. Going high tempo. He's a good pass catcher. He's fast as hell. He was one of the, if you looked at the next gen stats a few years ago when he was healthy, he was one of the fastest ball carriers in the entire NFL. So they might just be, Dable and company might already be giving us a sign that they're ready to right off the bat here and just go almost Cliff Kingsbury-esque to start the year here. And Devin Singletary's rushing yards props right now are only sitting at 32.5 at most places. So I think that's a number that was anticipating Zach Moss was going to play.
Yeah, I think you and I should probably look at the little prop finder over on the lines. By the way, go to the homepage. Whenever you're on the homepage, there is right there, dead center, says prop finder, click the little button. And when you do that, it'll pull up a place where you can just type in anybody's name. I am wondering about Raheem Mostert at this point, what we're looking at. We only 63, it says 63 right now at Caesars. I'm wondering if that has been changed. I wonder if that has been on the move here because, again, Steven, if it's at 63, I couldn't bet that fast enough. I would break my finger betting that right now on the over. So maybe this thing has adjusted and is on the move here because the news with him being basically the guy in the backfield now for San Francisco in a game that we think that they could ice pretty early and just go to running the ball down the Lions' throat to go ahead and preserve a lead. I think that, a 63, I would play that up to, what would you feel comfortable playing that up to like 70? I'd probably play it up to 70.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out here. I mean, the Niners are never a bell cow backfield, right? I mean, it's just not who they do. So I'm pulling up their depth. As a Niners fan, I'm having trouble remembering because Jeff Wilson's hurt for like the first half of the year here. And if it's not Trey Sermon as the backup to Raheem Mostert, I mean, we're looking at a combination of, and I need to double check inactives here to see if these other guys are inactive as well. But next up is JaMychal Hasty and the rookie Elijah. I know in fantasy circles, a lot of people liked him. He's a pretty athletic guy, a day 3 pick. So that is who the backup to Raheem Mostert would be today.
Yeah. So let's go through, guys, again, just lines.com/odds for all the updated odds and see where we sit right now in all these games. The Falcons favored by 3.5 over the Eagles. The Steelers are 6.5 point dogs to the Bills on the road there in Buffalo. Vikings, 3-point road favorites over the Bengals. I should add, all 3 of my Circa Survivor entries are on the Vikings today. So I am all the eggs in one basket.
Good luck,
here.
buddy. That's awesome.
Yeah, we're looking here in the comment section. Teasing the NFL said he's on San Francisco and the Rams tease as well. So, feeling good about that one.
Here's what I would say about that. If you haven't bet that yet, There are some books that have moved that line now to the Niners -9. That is outside the teaser best practices range here. I mean, once it gets to 9, now you're teasing down to 3, and 3 would be a push. So that takes out a lot. I think a lot of these books moved it there maybe as some teaser protection. At this point, if you haven't bet it yet and you have a couple, I would check the lines. That's obviously a pretty basic thing that we say, but I know there's a lot of casual bettors back into it now for week 1 potentially that might be wild. And shop around. If there's an 8.5 out there and a 9 in another book, that's a huge difference when you're talking about teasing down a favorite. So I would not tease the Niners down at this point if it's at 9.
Yeah, I don't hate it. I mean, to get it into a little bit more comfortable range for some people or something like that. I don't hate it, but yes, a lot of the value has been removed at that point. One of the other line moves that I'm looking at here, that's pretty interesting. It has come off of the 3 in that Broncos and Giants game and back down to 2.5 in favor of the Broncos. So there has been some New York Giants support. Now, if this would have been a year ago, Steven, or even 2 years ago, we would say, okay, well, that's regional bias coming out of, the East Coast over there. But, DraftKings, FanDuel, MGM, et cetera, they're in basically every single market that there is right now. So I don't know how heavily an influence the East Coast really has on these lines getting moved as it is anyway. So I'm wondering if there's just general support out there for this Giants team against the Broncos team that, listen, I think you and I both feel that they made the right choice in going with Bridgewater. But, first game of the year on the road against the Giants. Now, the offense, we don't know, but the Giants defense should actually be pretty good. It should actually be one of the, upper half defenses in all the NFL. So that thing has come off the key number of 3.
Yeah, I would bet. See, I just moved to Louisville, Kentucky, so I need to go across the bridge to Southern Indiana now to get some legal bets in. So if I was over there, I would absolutely bet Broncos 2.5. I like that side. This feels like a public move to base that on at this point, but it feels public. This is a number that had been moving the other direction early in the week, and now we're coming back the other way. And just from a matchup standpoint, the Giants were projected by Pro Football Focus to have the worst offensive line in the league this season. They don't have Evan Ingram, Daniel Jones security blanket. Kenny Golladay has been warning that this offense could start slow. Ian Rappaport has said this morning that Saquon Barkley is going to be used, quote, sparingly. So on the other side, love the Broncos defense. Love that Teddy Bridgewater brings some stability to that offense. He's a guy that's going to manage the game and be able to use those weapons that they have on the outside. I think Javonte Williams is one of my favorite rookies coming into this. Broke the mold for forced tackles and elusive rate by a college player a year ago. So I know they're on the road, and I know that West Coast teams, the East Coast is one of those popular public fades, but I see too many mismatches here for me to bet the Giants, especially if it's off the key number of 3 at this point.
All right, Steven, Dan is asking, leaning Rams or Panthers for my survivor. How beat up is the Jets defense? Jets defense doesn't need to be beat up. They just lack talent.
Yeah, they're just not there.
They just lack talent. They're not there. It really just depends on how big your survivor pool is and what your goal is. So for me, I'm playing in this giant one out here in Vegas where there's thousands and thousands of people in it. So I went with a less safe pick because I want to save some of these safer teams for later on in the season. I'm trying to win the whole thing, right? And I have to be a little bit more contrarian in trying to win the whole thing. But if you're in a pool with 10 of your buddies or something, or 20 of your buddies, you don't have to get as crazy contrarian. You don't have to play any sort of game strategy. The best strategy might just be advancing every single week, and you might end up winning the thing by week 8 for all is said and done. So it really depends on the size of your pool and what your kind of objectives are. So if you're in a smaller one, yeah, I think the Rams is a perfectly fine play this week because their value later on in the pool is diminished because of the size of the pool. For me, it's so greatly increased in the one that I'm in because I'm in with 4,000 other people, right? And so it's just a different strategy that goes into depending on the size of your pool.
Yeah, absolutely. And our senior writer Mo Nawar is going to have a survivor pool best picks each week article up on the lines on Mondays. So you can check that out, where he's taking into account the money lines and the implied probability of each team's odds for them to win that week. He's going to factor survivor pool strategy as well, so you can look out for that. And also, if you joined us late, just to let you know, as we are broadcasting this, our team at the Lines is updating the latest roster and inactive news and how it relates to betting angles. Just go to thelines.com, and underneath the NFL dropdown, you're going to click on betting angles, and you'll see the live feed constantly being updated of all the NFL news here leading off to kickoff.
Jacob asked DJ Chark or Deebo Samuel. I have Deebo ranked higher in my projections for the week, but not by very much at all. It is as close to a coin flip, kind of, in my opinion, as there is. And so for me, when it comes to those situations, Steven, I always just tell people, go with the guy you'd rather root for than in this situation. Because, I mean, seriously, I have Deebo Samuel coming in at like the 28th wide receiver for the week, and then I have Chark coming in at kind of like the 31st wide receiver for the week. So they are literally, if you want to know who is ahead in the actual projections, it'd be Deebo, but again, by a fraction.
Yeah, I think Chark has, it wouldn't surprise me if he kind of falls out of favor in this offense for the Jaguars. They have loved Marvin Jones and what he has brought there so much that they made him a captain in his first season with the Jaguars. And on top of that, they're going to use Laviska Shenault all over the place.
He looms, like that guy looms.
Yeah.
He seems like a dude that they're going to use maybe even as like the extension of the run game type thing with those little short, quick passes and stuff. So, yeah, I mean, again, Deebo's ranked higher for me in my rankings, so that's probably where I would go with that one. Steve, before we get out of here, let's run through the picks that we have made for the day, the bets that are in our accounts. Sure. Who do you have right now in your account?
Let's go down here. I'm pulling up our notes from earlier this week because I've locked a lot of these in earlier. But Cardinals-Titans game, I have Julio Jones over 53.5. Love the mismatch there with the Cardinals secondary. Jaguars at Texans, I have bet James Robinson plus 100 on an anytime touchdown. Minnesota at Cincinnati, I have Cincinnati to cover that spread, but I would shy away if you get the hook. I like -3 or better for Cincinnati there. I liked under 48 earlier this week, but I think that number has moved down to 47, 46 and a half. I'd shy away at this point from that movement. Jets at Carolina, I like the over in this game. Points from when we bet it at 43, but I still like the over. If you're worried about the Jets offense, I think you can still basically follow the same philosophy of why we like this bet and just take the Carolina team total over.
Should be noted that Keelan Cole is out today for the Jets. So one of the weapons that they have there for Zach Wilson is not going to play. That said, like as Steven mentioned, we're both on the over in that game. I would still play it as we sit right now. So I don't hate it. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, for sure. Philadelphia at Atlanta. We like the dog here. I like. I took some money line. I sprinkled some money line, but I took a full on Philadelphia plus 3.5. Once I got that hook, I think they have a huge advantage both in the trenches there. I have Cleveland at Kansas City under 54.5. I think the Browns are going to have a lot of success running the ball today and shortening this game. They're one of the slowest paced offenses from a year ago. Now that you just mentioned it, has moved off that 3. I do like Denver -2.5. And one of my favorite bets today, I like New England. I got it at 2.5. That's the problem. And Matt, correct me if I'm wrong, but we're up to like 3.5 here on New England, right?
Yeah, 3.5 pretty much across the board now on the Patriots. So if you got it at 2.5, I could see this being a field goal game. I'm not going to say definitely. If you got it at 2.5, come back in on the 3.5 on the other side. But I think this could be a pretty tight game. Comes down to kind of like the last type possession thing. So pretty interesting there. Yeah.
One
so
more,
for my ass, yeah. You got another one.
One more, just real quick. There's a lot of if you're in a legal betting state, there's some risk-free same game parlays out. You can bet $25. If you get it wrong, then they'll give you 25 in free bets back. One simple one I like: Devonta Adams over 110 yards and a touchdown is plus 290. That implies around a 30% probability. I think he actually went over those numbers 47% of go, and he's facing a Saints secondary that is really hurting. They just traded for Bradley Roby, but he's suspended week 1. Marcus Lattimore showed up on the injury report middle of the week. That's never a good sign. Even if he plays, he's probably not going to be 100%. And Devonta Adams is going to smash this season, and against this secondary, and more importantly, front that's going to be very tough against a Packers offensive line that's replacing a couple of starters from a year ago for week 1. It's going to be tough for them to run the ball. I think Aaron Rodgers, though, is going to be able to pick apart this secondary, and obviously Devonta Adams is his favorite man.
Yeah, I have actually, so we'll get to that one in just a second. As we move down the thing here, bets that are already in my account, I actually played a very small piece of the Cardinals at +3 at Cardinals dogs here. I actually think that I did a little bit more research, go in, take a look, and how good this Cardinals offense was at the beginning of last season. I think we forget because of how bad it was in the second half after Kyler Murray got hurt. But when this team was good, they were really, really good. And apparently all the reports that we get coming out of the Cardinals camp is that AJ Green actually looks pretty good as well. So if your wide receiver 2 is AJ Green to go along with Hopkins, to go along with Moore, to go along with all the ridiculous amount of weapons they have in the backfield as well with Chase Edmonds and Kyler Murray and his legs as well. I'm going to take a small flyer there on them taking the 3 points. I have all 3 of my survivor entries on the Vikings against the Bengals. Just need them to get that done. Just need them to win that game. I don't need the 3. I have the Seahawks as 2.5-point favorites. It's at 3 right now. I would still play it at that. I am not at all worried about this Colts team, especially now that we get word Eric Fisher's not going to play, Xavier Rhodes is not going to play. I think the Seahawks have a field day here, and I really do like them. Even at the 3, I would still play that one. I have a teaser leg of the 49ers and the Rams, so teasing those 2 teams together. I also have both of those locked into a tease coming back from Thursday night on the Bucks as well. I have the over in the Jets-Panthers game. It is the number I got it at is no longer available. I will let you know that we got it at 43. It is sitting at 44.5, 45 right now. I would play it up to 45 still. It gets over 45. That's where I would start to back off. That's where I would start to back off. I would still play it up to 45. I still feel pretty good about that. I took a small piece of the Browns +6.5. I think this team is going to surprise some people. I think the offensive line, like I said, for the Chiefs is going to be good. I don't know if they're going to be good from right out of the gate, from the get-go, and this Browns defense is going to be a problem for a lot of teams. So I took a piece of the Browns at +6.5. I think I'm going to end up playing the Packers. I think there's a lot of red flags around the Saints in this game.
Agree.
It's not really a home game. They move outdoors. They're not playing in a dome. They're not playing on the fast turf. Ken Crawley is out for them. Traquan Smith is now out for them to go along with Michael Thomas being out. So now it is literally a bunch of guys that are late round picks or that they signed off the street who Jameis Winston's going to have to throw to in his first game as the starter for the Saints. So I think I'm going to have a Packers ticket hit my account as well when it's all said and done. And yeah, so those are that's what's in my account right now, guys. Did have at least a little bit of a lean on Monday night, but we'll be back on Monday to talk that game a little bit further and see if there's any future further developments there on this Ravens team and what we might be able to glean out of all that. But Steven, week 1 is finally here. Go set your finish your fantasy lineups. Go and tweak what you got to do. Go put in those last minute bets here, and we'll be back breaking down Monday Night Football here on the channel as well.
Yeah, one more parting shot for everybody. It does look like JaMycal Hasty be to Raheem Mostert today with Trey Sermon out for the 49ers. In a game where they're almost double-digit favorites, you can get JaMycal Hasty +900 at BetMGM to score a touchdown. And he is in that Trey Sermon role today with Trey Sermon inactive. So if you want to get really juicy and think this might be a blowout, 150-1 on JaMycal Hasty to score 2 touchdowns. I say that half jokingly, but if you are in fantasy and you have an extra spot, we could have been wrong about Trey Sermon. So JaMycal Hasty could be worth a speculative pickup here for week 1.
Guys, good luck on all of your bets out there this week. Good luck in all your fantasy matchups. And man, cannot wait for the action to start here in less than an hour. For Steven, I'm Matt. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Bam!